Hello. So today is the 23rd day. And so I'm noticing that the camera is not focusing. I don't know what's going on. Somehow what's going on behind me is more important. And that's okay. So you're just going to have to get past that because I don't know what to do to fix it. So shit happens and we move on. So as you can see, I'm bundled up today. It is really, really, really cold today in LA. Winter has decided to settle in a little bit as far as temperature. And it's late. And so likely this will be brief. Although the topic seems to be pretty in-depth. Interesting combination. Okay, so what's on my face? Well, I did an event tonight promoting my artistic company, artisticla.com. And this whole festival chunky glitter thing has become quite all the rage here in LA. And so I was developing a new system of how to produce it, but also present it in an arena that was a little bit more controlled, because during the summertime it will be a little bit more implemented. And so yeah, so I'm an example of the chunky glitter festival glitter look. So I self-test the product on myself. Most of it is self-created. Not that I developed it on my own. I just look for... I have a tendency to reproduce products that are already out there in a way that's a little bit more natural. And so to do that, I also self-test to make sure that it does what I'm hoping it to do, etc. And so it was really cold, so we didn't have a lot of foot traffic, but still got some compliments on it, so yay! Anyway, so today's topic is, as I'm understanding it, has to do with responsibility. Responsibility is an interesting question because there's such a vast diversity of what that means, right? So we're gonna tackle this in a bit of a light mode, just as an introduction to what are we as humans responsible for? How does guidance see us to be responsible? An example was, so I put some signs outside, and because it was so cold, we decided to move inside, which was deviated from what we normally are, or normally myself and another artist are outside, so we're more visible. And so I put up signs where I needed to put up signs, and this little boy comes along and starts untaping some of the signs. And he was young enough that he was there with adult supervision. However, the adults were not supervising. And being that I am Mother Nature, I am Mother Roll, I said to the young man, please don't play with the signs. And he attempted to bring up some excuse as to how the tape somehow was untaping all by itself. No, it's untaping because you're futzing with it. And it presented a little bit of embarrassment with whoever was watching him. He was somewhere between 7 and 9. And so yeah, so responsibility. So when you are responsible for a younger soul, younger energy, it is your job to educate this being. And not just educate them, but also teach them to have something that we talked about in a prior video, which is having a conscience. That attempting to get away with or playing with something that is not yours is not appropriate. So, and so I hope and my want for this young man is that he understood in that moment that his actions are affecting other people, as nominal as playing with someone's setup. And that's important, because that's the only way we really regulate ourselves as a society. I did not say it in a demeaning way. I did not say it in a way that would be inappropriate to his age. It was just a matter of fact, please don't play with my signs. And so when guidance says, okay, we'll talk about responsibility, that came in after this example. So I was able to use it as an example. I had an example earlier today where a person wanted to do something that would be easier for them, not necessarily the best thing for the family, but just something that would be easier for them as an individual, knowing that there's 3 other people or 4 other people in that family to consider. And the guidance to her was, don't do what's easy, because you wouldn't suggest that to your child. Being a mother, you have a responsibility that everything you say and everything you think and everything you enact directly affects your children. Whether you're in the room or not, whether you're in the same state or not, whether you're in the same country or not. Energy is energy, and energy transmits information regardless of where you are. And especially for children, because they are higher receivers of energy, simply because they're younger. They may not be able to talk about it. They may not be able to have a conversation about what they feel, but they are higher receivers because they have less time on this planet to be infected by judgment and other people's discomfort. So, responsibility. So when I ask what are you responsible for individually, some of the guidance that I was hearing was we are responsible to keep each other in check in a loving, compassionate way. We are responsible to act out an inappropriate I'm trying to figure out how to say what I hear. To respond to something that is being done that is inappropriate in front of us. We are to act out accordingly, to stop it, to benefit a positive change, etc. We are to, as parents raising children, we are to constantly work on ourselves so that our children end up better than we were on some level. We are to do our best to stay honorable, diligent, and respectful to those we choose to have in our environment, those we choose to be around, and in general, society in general. Does that mean that we are supposed to excuse things? Not necessarily. There are some things that excusing it is okay. Again, we're tackling this on an introductory way, so there are some deeper subjects and concepts that we may not be able to really delve into today in this video. So on the general surface, we are responsible to assist somebody if they need assistance, whether that's somebody with their groceries, somebody with their door, who needs a door kept open for them, an elderly person, whatever. We're responsible for that. That's an act of decency that we certainly should be responsible for. And the other thing that we're responsible for ourselves is that we stay awake and aware of our actions. We stay awake and aware of potentially saying something hurtful and doing our best to stay away from doing that. We are awake and aware of our scar tissue, and that we typically will respond with our scar tissue first. And so we need to be aware with that. And there was something else that I was listening to. We are not responsible, however, for how people hear us. Because if our efforts are to say something in a very compassionate, non-judging way, as best we can, not going to be perfect, how that person hears it is also through their own scar tissue and through their own issues, right? So we are not responsible for how people take what we say. However, if they come back to us, we are responsible to have some sort of dialogue to help create some clarity. May or may not help, may or may not be effective. The relationship may cease at that point. Depends on what the situation is. And again, responsible for our aspect and our part of that conversation. And so yeah, those are the basic things that I'm hearing about responsibility and what to be aware of. And so your homework is, your challenge is to check in and see what things you have allowed yourself to take more responsibility than appropriate. To look and see what relationship is requiring more than just your appropriate responsibility to maintain. And the other side of that is, what things have you not allowed yourself to take responsibility for? What aspect of yourself and how you deal with people have you disallowed yourself to take responsibility for? And really, it's not about blame. It's really about accepting that you may need to gain some tools about how to be more effective, how to be more responsible and ethical, and with more conscience than you have allowed in the past. I was with a dear friend today, and she had said to me, "So we just keep growing, huh?" And I said, what I heard was, if all is well in the world, we keep growing. And that's, again, really what these videos are about. Let's just keep growing. Let's keep growing. Let's get better. Let's get more clear. Let's get more in alignment. Let's get more balance. We so need that right now. We really, really do. And so with that, those are your challenges. I hope you take them on with respect for what's going on in your world right now. Again, if the challenges sound like something you want to implement, it's just not the right time, please play this back and listen to it later. And, there's kind of like having kids. There's never really a great time. You can never really plan to detox. You can never really plan to have a growth spurt. You can never really plan to work on yourself. It's Sometimes you just gotta bite the bullet and do it. And revere it enough as important to be diligent about it. I wish you much empowerment, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Thank you.